The massive ships appeared in Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. They came from the dark space between stars, their hulls gleaming silver against the black void. Each vessel stretched for miles, covered in strange symbols that pulsed with blue light. There were 12 ships in total, arranged in perfect formation like a spear pointed at Earth's heart. Admiral Zexathera stood on the bridge of the flagship, looking at the small blue planet through the viewing screen. The creature had 4 arms, purple skin, and eyes that could see in 17 different light spectrums. This was the Admiral's 300th planetary conquest. The process was always the same. Send the message. Wait for surrender. Accept the planet into the Galactic Empire. Simple and clean. Communications officer, the Admiral said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. Begin the standard civilized subjugation protocol. The communications officer, a being that looked like a cross between a spider and a computer, activated the transmission array. The message that went out had been used successfully on thousands of worlds across the galaxy. It was written by the Empire's best diplomatic minds and translated into every known language. People of Earth, the message began. We are the Galactic Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our civilization. You have 72 standard hours to surrender all military forces and governmental authority. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy notification. Compliance will result in peaceful transition to imperial rule. Resistance will result in total planetary sterilization. Choose wisely. The message was sent on all radio frequencies, broadcast to every satellite, and transmitted directly to Earth's major cities. The Empire expected a response within hours. Usually, primitive planets panicked first. Then their leaders would frantically try to contact the Imperial fleet to discuss terms. But hours passed. No response came. Admiral Zexathera frowned with all 4 eyes. Status report. Has the planet acknowledged our transmission? Sir, the communications officer replied. We are receiving multiple responses, but they do not match any known diplomatic protocols. Explain. The communications officer hesitated. Sir, the first response appears to be a moving image of a small furry earth creature performing a repetitive dance accompanied by music. The second response contains only the text Ermam Lowell. The third response appears to be a recording of someone laughing for 17 minutes straight. Admiral Zexathera blinked slowly. In 300 conquests, this had never happened before. Are you certain the translation matrix is functioning correctly? Yes, sir. All our equipment is working perfectly. The responses are intentionally nonsensical. More. Transmissions flooded in from Earth. Someone sent a recipe for something called cookies. Another transmission contained thousands of images of Earth cats in various poses. A particularly confusing message simply read, "Send nudes," followed by crying, laughing symbols. Then came the transmission that made the entire Imperial bridge crew stop what they were doing. A young human male appeared on their screens. He was sitting in what looked like a small sleeping chamber, wearing colorful cloth coverings and something called a baseball cap. Behind him, strange posters covered the walls showing Earth warriors and vehicles. Yo, space dudes, the human said, pointing directly at the camera. Got your little message about surrender and stuff. That's pretty funny. Here's our counteroffer. The human held up his middle finger. See this? This is what we think of your empire. Also, your ships look stupid. Did you build them with spare parts? My dad's truck looks cooler than your whole fleet. The human paused to drink something from a metal container. Oh, and since you asked so nicely, here's our official response. Suddenly, loud music began playing. The human started dancing in his chair while holding up a sign that read, "Come and take it." The transmission ended. The Imperial bridge was silent for a full minute. Finally, Admiral Zexathera spoke. Communications officer, was that their official government response? Sir, our scans indicate the transmission originated from a private dwelling in a region called Ohio. The sender appears to be a juvenile male, approximately 16 Earth years old. A child? Their government allowed a child to respond to our ultimatum. Sir, our analysis suggests their government may not be aware of his transmission. He appears to have accessed our frequency through their primitive computer network. Admiral Zexathera felt a headache forming behind all 4 eyes. This was not in the protocols. The Empire had detailed procedures for dealing with warrior races, peaceful civilizations, hive minds, and even species that communicated through interpretive dance. But there was no protocol for being insulted by teenagers. Attempt to contact their official government, the Admiral ordered. Send the message directly to their capital cities. The communications officer sent the ultimatum again, this time targeting specific government buildings and military installations. Surely the adults would be more reasonable than the child. The response came 30 minutes later. This time it was an older human male wearing an elaborate military uniform, covered in colorful ribbons. He stood behind a wooden platform in what appeared to be an important building. "Citizens of Earth," the man said, looking directly into the camera. "We have received communication from extraterrestrial visitors. After careful consideration by our finest military minds, we have prepared our official response." Admiral Zexathara leaned forward. Finally, a proper diplomatic response. The military leader cleared his throat. The official position of Earth's armed forces is as follows. Come at us, bro." The man tried to keep a straight face but failed, breaking into a wide grin. "In addition, our scientists would like to examine your technology up close. Please feel free to land so we can take your ships apart and see how they work. Thank you for your time." The transmission ended with the sound of multiple humans laughing in the background. Admiral Zexathara stared at the blank screen. "Communications officer, confirm that transmission came from their military leadership." "Confirmed, sir." That was General Patterson of the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff, broadcasting from their Pentagon facility. They are mocking us." "It appears so, sir." More transmissions poured in from across Earth. Every major nation sent similar messages. The humans from the cold northern regions sent a video of their leader drinking something called vodka while challenging the Empire to come have drink and friendly wrestling match. The island nation sent a message consisting entirely of polite bowing, followed by footage of their military practicing with extremely sharp swords. The humans from the desert region sent coordinates to a location they called Area 51 with an invitation to see what happens to aliens who visit without permission. The message was accompanied by ominous laughing. Most confusing of all, the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Their global communication network, which the Empire was monitoring, showed humans creating art, music, and stories about the invasion. They were making jokes, sharing battle plans, and arguing about whether alien technology would be compatible with their gaming systems. Admiral Zexathara called an emergency conference with the other ship commanders. "Status report. What are we dealing with?" Commander Vextal, leader of the 2nd Battle Group, consulted her datapad. "Sir, this species appears to be suffering from collective insanity. They show no fear of superior technology. Their responses suggest they view our invasion as entertainment. Perhaps they do not understand the situation," suggested Commander Nexron. "Their technology is primitive. They may not comprehend our capabilities." Admiral Zexathara considered this. "Begin Phase 2 of the protocol. Demonstrate our power with a non-lethal show of force. Target one of their uninhabited satellites." The Empire's weapons charged with a sound like thunder. A single beam of energy reached across space and touched one of Earth's communication satellites. The satellite vanished in a flash of light. The response from Earth was immediate. Every radio frequency erupted with human voices. But instead of fear or pleas for mercy, the communications were filled with excitement. "Did you see that? Holy crap, they actually have laser guns. That was awesome. Do it again. I wonder if we can build one of those." Admiral Zexathara realized that the Empire had encountered something completely outside their experience. These humans were not responding according to any known pattern of civilized behavior. They were acting like warriors who had just been challenged to a fight. Admiral Zexathara paced back and forth on the bridge, all 4 arms crossed behind their back. The situation had become what Imperial protocols called non-standard. In the Empire's long history, no planet had ever responded to invasion with laughter and internet memes. "Communications officer, send a priority message to Imperial Command. Request guidance for dealing with..." The Admiral paused, trying to find the right words. Unconventional diplomatic responses. While waiting for orders from the capital, the Admiral decided to try again. Perhaps the humans simply misunderstood the gravity of their situation. The Empire sent another message, this time with detailed scans showing the full power of their weapons. Complete technical specifications of their fleet. and historical records of what happened to planets that refused to surrender. The response came from a different human this time. A middle-aged woman sitting in what appeared to be a kitchen, wearing a colorful apron covered in flour. Behind her, something was cooking in a large metal box that produced delicious smells. "Hello there, alien friends," the woman said cheerfully, waving at the camera. "I got your message about conquering our planet. That sounds like hard work. You must be hungry after traveling all that way through space. Would you like some cookies? I just made a fresh batch." She held up a plate of small brown circular objects that smelled incredible even through the transmission. "I also have some fresh coffee brewing. My husband says my chocolate chip cookies are the best in the county. You're welcome to come down and try some." The woman paused, then added with a sweet smile, "Oh, and if you do decide to try that whole conquest thing, you should probably know that my son is a Marine. My husband served in Vietnam, and my daughter just got back from Afghanistan. We're what you might call a military family. But seriously, cookies first, fighting later. Everything's better on a full stomach." The transmission ended with the woman returning to her cooking as if she had just invited neighbors over for dinner. Admiral Zexthara stared at the screen in confusion. Did she just offer us food while simultaneously threatening us? "It appears so, sir," the communications officer replied. "Our analysis suggests this is typical human behavior. They seem to view hospitality and violence as compatible concepts." The response from Imperial Command finally arrived. The message was brief and unhelpful. "Follow standard protocols. Request denied for deviation from established procedures. If resistance continues, escalate to Phase 3. End transmission." Admiral Zexthara felt another headache coming. The Empire's bureaucracy was famous for its efficiency, but it was not designed to handle situations outside the manual. The standard protocol said to send increasingly formal diplomatic warnings until the enemy surrendered or qualified for immediate destruction. "Send another ultimatum," the Admiral ordered. "Make it more formal this time. Include our full list of demands and legal justifications under Imperial law." The new message was 12 pages long, written in the most official language the Empire could produce. It explained in detail how the Galactic Empire had the legal right to conquer any planet within their expansion zone, listed the specific laws that Earth was violating by existing without Imperial permission, and provided a comprehensive breakdown of exactly how the conquest would proceed. The message took 4 hours to transmit in its entirety. Earth's response arrived 6 minutes later. A teenage human female appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like a moving vehicle. She was operating the vehicle while talking, which seemed incredibly dangerous but apparently normal for humans. "Okay, so I only listened to like the first 5 minutes of your super long boring message," she said, not looking directly at the camera. "But it sounds like you want us to fill out paperwork or something." "Look, I'm late for work, I've got homework due tomorrow, and my boyfriend is being weird about prom. I don't have time for galactic conquest paperwork." She paused at what appeared to be a red traffic signal. "Here's the thing, space guys. If you want to conquer Earth, you're going to have to get in line. We've got like 12 different countries that want to conquer each other. Half our planet is on fire, and everybody's arguing about everything all the time. Adding aliens to the mix isn't going to make things any crazier than they already are." The light changed and she continued driving. "Plus, and I'm just saying this as someone who watches a lot of movies, every time aliens try to invade Earth, we usually end up winning through the power of friendship and explosions. So maybe just skip to the part where we're friends and I can get alien tech to help with my science project. That would be super helpful." The transmission ended as she pulled into what appeared to be a food service establishment and completely forgot about the conversation. More humans began responding to the Imperial messages. Each response was more confusing than the last. A group of humans wearing identical uniforms sent a message from what they called a fire station. Their leader, a large man with impressive facial hair, addressed the Empire directly. "We appreciate the advance notice about the invasion. We've been training for emergency situations our whole careers. Our only question is, do your ships burn? Because we're really good at putting out fires, but we're even better at starting them when necessary." Another message came from a location called NASA. A woman in a white coat stood in front of massive rockets and complex equipment. "We've been trying to figure out faster than light travel for decades," she said excitedly. "If you could just park one of your ships a little closer, we'd love to take some measurements. For science, we promise we'll only take it apart a little bit. The most disturbing response came from a place called Texas. A man wearing a large hat stood in front of an enormous building filled with weapons. "Y'all picked the wrong planet to mess with," he said calmly. "We've got enough firepower down here to level a small country, and that's just what we keep for hunting and home defense. You want Texas? Come and take it." Behind him, dozens of other humans were visible, all holding various weapons and nodding in agreement. Some were even smiling. But the messages that truly worried Admiral Zexithera were the ones that started arriving from Earth's military installations. These weren't threats or jokes. These were technical questions. What type of power source do your ships use? Asked a transmission from something called MIT. How do your weapons compensate for the curvature of space-time? Inquired a message from CERN. We noticed your ships don't seem to use traditional propulsion. Could you explain the physics behind your drive system? Requested a communication from Caltech. The humans weren't just refusing to surrender. They were studying the Imperial fleet like a problem to be solved. Admiral Zexithera called another meeting with the ship commanders. Report, what is our current status? Commander Vextel looked worried. Sir, we've been monitoring their global communications network. The humans are adapting. They're sharing information about our ships, comparing our technology to their theoretical physics, and making plans. What kind of plans? Defense plans, sir. But also other kinds of plans. They seem very interested in acquiring our technology. There's significant discussion about capturing our ships intact. Commander Nexron added, Sir, our sensors indicate massive movement across the planet. Their military forces are mobilizing, but not in defensive positions. They appear to be positioning for offensive operations. Admiral Zexithera felt a chill run down their spine. Offensive operations? Against our fleet? Yes, sir. They're moving nuclear weapons, conventional missiles, and some kind of projectile weapons into position. But the most concerning development is that they're also moving their space-based assets. Their satellites, their space station, even their experimental spacecraft are being repositioned. Repositioned for what? Unknown, sir. But based on their trajectory calculations, it appears they're planning to attack us. Admiral Zexithera stared out at the small blue planet. In 300 conquests, this had never happened. Primitive species were supposed to surrender when faced with superior technology. They weren't supposed to start planning counterattacks before the invasion even began. A new transmission arrived from Earth. This one came from their largest military command center. A stern-looking human male in an elaborate uniform stood behind a podium covered in flags. To the representatives of the Galactic Empire, he said formally, we have reviewed your demands for surrender. After careful consideration by our military leadership, scientific community, and civilian population, we have reached a unanimous decision. Admiral Zexithera leaned forward. Finally, a reasonable response. Our answer is no, the military leader continued. Not just no, but hell no. Earth does not surrender. Earth does not submit. Earth does not bow to anyone or anything. If you want our planet, you're going to have to take it. And we promise you that's going to be a lot harder than you think. The human paused, then smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Fair warning, we're really good at breaking things, especially things that don't belong here. You have 1 hour to leave our solar system voluntarily. After that, we start shooting. And we don't plan to stop until every last one of your ships is floating scrap metal. The transmission ended. Admiral Zexithera realized that the Empire was no longer dealing with a simple conquest. They were dealing with a planet full of warriors who viewed impossible odds as The hour passed faster than Admiral Zexithera expected. As the deadline approached, the Imperial fleet received its final authorization from Galactic Command. Begin remedial pacification procedures. Demonstrate overwhelming force. Accept surrender when offered. Admiral Zexithera stood before the tactical display, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. The planet looked peaceful from this distance. No massive defense grids, no planetary shields, no obvious military installations that could threaten star-level technology. The humans had primitive chemical rockets and basic nuclear weapons. This should be simple. Target their major military installations, the Admiral ordered. Non-lethal demonstration first. Show them what our weapons can do. The Empire's targeting systems locked onto military bases across Earth. Each ship carried weapons that could level mountains and boil oceans. For a simple demonstration, they would use the smallest setting possible. Fire. Beams of pure energy reached down from space, striking military installations on 3 different continents. The weapons were calibrated to destroy the bases completely, while leaving surrounding areas untouched. It was a precise, clean demonstration of Imperial power. Admiral Zexathara waited for the surrender transmission. Usually after a display like this, planet-wide panic would follow. Government leaders would frantically contact the Imperial fleet, begging for terms. Instead, every communication frequency erupted with human voices. Contact. We have contact. All units, the alien ships are engaging. Weapons free. I repeat, weapons free. Time to see what these things are made of. The humans weren't surrendering. They were getting excited, sir, the sensor officer called out. Massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. They're launching everything. Admiral Zexthara looked at the tactical display in disbelief. From every corner of Earth, missiles were rising into space. Hundreds of them. Nuclear warheads, kinetic kill vehicles, experimental weapons that the Empire's sensors couldn't identify, all of them aimed directly at the Imperial fleet. Impossible, the Admiral whispered. They can't hurt us with primitive weapons. The first wave of missiles reached the Imperial ships and exploded harmlessly against their shields. Nuclear fire washed over the fleet like gentle rain. The humans' most powerful weapons couldn't even scratch Imperial armor. But then the second wave arrived. Sir, detecting unusual energy signatures in the incoming projectiles, the sensor officer reported. These aren't standard nuclear weapons. Explain. Sir, they appear to have modified their weapons. They're using our own energy from the demonstration attacks. Somehow they've captured and redirected the energy from our strikes. Admiral Zexathera blinked in confusion. That's impossible. They don't have the technology to manipulate our energy. Sir, the humans are using some kind of primitive but effective energy collection system. They absorbed the energy from our demonstration and built it into their missiles. The modified weapons struck the Imperial ships with their own power. The shields held, but the Admiral felt the ships shake from the impact. How did they do this so quickly? The Admiral demanded. Sir, our analysis suggests they had been preparing for this possibility. They appear to have built the collection systems before we arrived. Before Admiral Zexathera could process this information, the third wave launched from Earth. This time it wasn't just missiles. The humans were throwing everything they had at the Imperial fleet. Space shuttles loaded with explosives came screaming out of Earth's atmosphere. Satellites had been converted into kinetic weapons. The humans had even launched their space station at the Imperial fleet after loading it with every nuclear weapon they could fit inside. Sir, detecting human spacecraft approaching at high speed, the sensor officer announced. They appear to be ramming us? With what? Everything, sir. Military craft, civilian spacecraft, converted cargo ships. They're using their vessels as guided missiles. Through the viewing screen, Admiral Zexathera watched a human spacecraft approach one of the Imperial vessels. It was small, primitive, held together with what looked like metal tape. As it got closer, the Admiral could see a human inside the cockpit, wearing some kind of breathing apparatus. The human pilot looked directly at the Imperial ship, held up his middle finger in that strange human gesture, and crashed his spacecraft into the Imperial hull at full speed. The explosion barely damaged the Imperial ship, but the message was clear. These humans were willing to die just to annoy the Empire. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human pilot's spacecraft, the communications officer reported. It was sent just before impact. Put it through. A young human male appeared on screen, sitting in the cockpit of his doomed spacecraft. He was grinning widely. Hey space guys, this is Lieutenant Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. Just wanted to let you know that was for Chicago. The transmission switched to show footage of one of the destroyed military bases. That was my hometown you just blew up. So here's a little gift from Earth with love. The screen went white as the spacecraft exploded. More human pilots followed. Each one sent a personal message before crashing into Imperial ships. They weren't military communications. They were individuals making personal statements. This is for my brother who died defending Earth. This is for every kid who ever dreamed of fighting aliens. This is for my dog because you probably would have hurt my dog. Admiral Zexathara realized that the Empire wasn't fighting an organized military. They were fighting a planet of individuals who had all personally decided to go to war. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth's surface, the communications officer announced. It's from their central command. An older human appeared on screen. He was standing in what looked like an underground bunker, surrounded by displays showing the battle. Behind him, dozens of humans worked at various stations coordinating the attack. "Alien fleet," the human said calmly. "This is General Harrison, Earth Defense Command. I wanted to personally thank you for the demonstration. Our scientists learned a lot from watching your weapons work. We've already started building improvements." The human gestured to one of the displays behind him. "As you can see, we've launched everything we have at your fleet. We know it won't destroy you, but that's not the point. The point is to show you that Earth doesn't back down from a fight." The general paused, then smiled. "But here's what you probably didn't expect. While you were focused on our missiles and pilots, we've been busy with other projects." The display changed to show images of humans working frantically in laboratories and factories around the world. "See, the thing about humans is that we're really good at solving problems under pressure. And you've given us a very interesting problem to solve." "What problem?" Admiral Zexthara found themselves asking out loud. As if he had heard the question, the general continued, "The problem is, how do you fight an enemy with superior technology?" Answer: you take their technology and make it better. The display showed images of wreckage from Imperial energy weapons that had struck Earth. Humans were swarming over the debris, taking measurements, cutting samples, running experiments. "Every shot you fired at us has left traces of your technology behind," the general explained. "Our engineers have been studying those traces. Our physicists have been analyzing your energy signatures. Our computer scientists have been working on your communication frequencies." Admiral Zexthara felt a cold dread growing in their stomach. "So here's what's going to happen next," the general said. "We're going to keep attacking you with everything we have. Not because we think it will work, but because we need to keep you busy while our real weapon comes online." "What real weapon?" Admiral Zexthara whispered. The general held up a small device that looked suspiciously like Imperial technology, but somehow different. "We've been reverse engineering your tech for the past 6 hours. Human engineering teams working around the clock, sharing information globally, building on each other's discoveries, and we've made some improvements." The device in the general's hand began to glow with the same energy signature as Imperial weapons, but brighter. "The thing is," the general continued, "your technology is really impressive, but it's designed by committee, built to Imperial standards, regulated by bureaucracy. Our version doesn't have those limitations." The general pointed the device at something off-screen. There was a flash of light and the sound of something very large being destroyed. "We've also mounted these on missiles," the general added casually. "Big missiles, fast missiles, missiles that can reach your fleet in about—" He checked his watch. 3 minutes. The transmission ended. Admiral Zexthara turned to the sensor officer. "Report, are there incoming missiles?" "Sir, detecting multiple launch signatures from Earth's surface." "Energy readings are—" "Sir, those are our weapon signatures, but amplified beyond safe parameters." "How is that possible?" "Sir, the humans appear to have removed all safety protocols and pushed the technology past its design limits. The weapons are more powerful than ours, but also highly unstable." Admiral Zexthara realized that the Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed that humans would be like every other species, logical, cautious, willing to surrender when faced with superior force. Instead, the modified human weapons struck the Imperial fleet with devastating effect. Ships that had survived countless battles across the galaxy, shuddered under the impact of their own technology, turned against them. The humans had somehow made Imperial weapons more powerful by making them more dangerous. Admiral Zexthara watched their shields fluctuate as explosions bloomed across their hull. "Damage report!" "Sir, minor hull damage to ships 3, 7, and 11. No critical systems affected, but the humans' modifications to our technology are causing unexpected stress patterns in our armor." "How are they doing this?" The science officer, a creature that looked like a floating brain with tentacles, consulted its instruments. "Sir, the humans appear to have completely ignored our safety protocols. They've removed power limiters, bypassed cooling systems, and eliminated failsafes. The weapons are operating at 3 times their intended capacity. That should make them explode." "Many of them do, sir, but the humans seem to consider that acceptable losses. They're treating weapon malfunction as an additional explosive effect." Admiral Zexthara felt a headache building behind all 4 eyes. This wasn't how war was supposed to work. Civilized species had rules. They used proven tactics, reliable technology, and logical strategies. They didn't turn safety features into weapons, sir. Incoming transmission from Earth, the communications officer announced. Put it through. This time, the human on screen was wearing some kind of protective suit and standing in what looked like a laboratory, filled with smoke and sparks. Behind her, other humans worked frantically with pieces of Imperial technology. Hello again, alien friends, the human said cheerfully, as if explosions and chaos were perfectly normal. This is Dr. Sarah Chen from the Global Emergency Science Consortium. We just wanted to thank you for the free technology samples. The human held up a piece of twisted metal that was still glowing with residual energy. This is from one of your energy weapons. Fascinating design, very elegant, extremely safe. We've been making some modifications. Behind her, another human carried what looked like an Imperial weapon that had been completely rebuilt with human components. Wires stuck out in all directions. Extra parts had been welded on seemingly at random, and the entire device was covered in warning labels written in multiple Earth languages. The problem with your technology, Dr. Chen continued, is that it's too safe. You've got all these limiters and protocols preventing the weapons from reaching their full potential. We've been removing those. An explosion echoed from somewhere in the laboratory. Dr. Chen glanced back casually. Don't worry about that. Johnson's just testing the Mark IV prototype. We've only lost 3 laboratories today, which is pretty good for experimental weapons development. Admiral Zexithera stared at the screen in horror. They're conducting weapons research while under attack? Dr. Chen seemed to hear the question. Oh yes, absolutely. Crisis really brings out the best in human innovation. We've got teams working around the clock, sharing research globally. Every time you shoot at us, we learn something new. Every piece of wreckage becomes a new technology sample. The human gestured to a display showing the battle from space. See, you're thinking about this all wrong. You see an invasion. We see the galaxy's biggest technology transfer program. By the time this is over, we'll have decades worth of advancement in just a few days. Sir, the sensor officer interrupted, detecting massive energy signatures from multiple locations on Earth's surface. The humans appear to be constructing large-scale weapons platforms. Dr. Chen smiled. Oh, you noticed our little construction projects. Yes, we've been busy. Turns out your energy technology scales up really well. We're building some much bigger versions. The transmission switched to show images from across Earth. In the middle of deserts, on mountaintops in the centers of major cities, humans were building enormous weapons that glowed with Imperial energy signatures. The beauty of human engineering, Dr. Chen explained, is that we don't worry about things like recommended operational parameters or safe energy levels. If a little power is good, more power is better. If more power is better, then maximum power is best. Admiral Zexithera watched in fascination and terror as humans worked with technology they barely understood, pushing it far beyond its intended limits. They're going to kill themselves. Some of them, probably, Dr. Chen agreed. But that's the price of progress. Besides, we've got 7 billion people on this planet. We can afford to lose a few to experimental explosions. The transmission ended as another explosion shook the laboratory behind her. Sir, the humans are implementing what can only be described as guerrilla warfare on a stellar scale, reported Commander Vextal. They're using our own communication frequencies to coordinate attacks. They've turned their satellites into kinetic weapons. They're even using their space debris as improvised missiles. Space debris? Yes, sir. They're launching everything from broken satellites to spent rocket stages at our fleet. Individually, these objects are harmless, but they're launching thousands of them, forcing us to waste energy shooting down junk. Admiral, Zexithera realized that humans approached warfare the same way they apparently approached everything else, with no regard for conventional wisdom and a complete, willingness to try things that shouldn't work. Sir, incoming priority transmission from Imperial Command, the communications officer announced. Admiral Zexithera straightened. Finally, the Empire's leadership would provide guidance for this impossible situation. The transmission was brief and unhelpful. Report status. Expected surrender time frame. Provide timeline for planetary integration. Admiral Zexithera looked around the bridge at their crew. How could they explain that the humans had turned a simple conquest into a learning experience, that the primitive planet was reverse engineering Imperial technology in real time? That Earth's response to invasion was to start an impromptu science fair? Communications officer, send the following reply. Situation developing. Human response non-standard. Request additional time for evaluation. Sir, the humans are transmitting again. This time the transmission came from what appeared to be a military command center, but it was clearly improvised. Humans in military uniforms worked alongside people in civilian clothes, scientists in laboratory coats, and what appeared to be teenagers with laptops. A familiar figure appeared on screen, General Harrison from Earth Defense Command. But he looked different now. His uniform was scorched, his face was covered in soot, and he was grinning like someone who was having the time of his life. "Alien Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command," the general said. "We wanted to give you an update on our progress." Behind him, displays showed the battle from multiple angles. The Imperial fleet hung in space, mostly undamaged but clearly on the defensive. Around Earth, thousands of human spacecraft swarmed like angry insects, constantly attacking, constantly adapting. "First, the good news," General Harrison continued. "We've successfully reverse-engineered your energy weapons, your shield technology, and your communication systems. Our engineers estimate we've advanced our technology by about 50 years in the past 12 hours. The general paused to drink something from a metal cup. "Now the bad news. For you, I mean. Good news for us. We've figured out how your ships work, and we've got some ideas for improvements." The display behind him changed to show technical diagrams of Imperial vessels, with human modifications marked in red. The modifications were extensive and looked extremely dangerous. "See, your ships are designed for safety and efficiency," the general explained. "Very sensible, very practical, very boring. Our modifications focus on maximum damage output, regardless of safety considerations." Admiral Zexthara leaned forward. "What modifications?" As if he could hear the question, General Harrison continued. "We've developed what our engineers are calling aggressive boarding procedures. Instead of trying to break through your shields with external weapons, we're going to put people inside your ships. Impossible. Our shields prevent matter transmission." The general smiled. "Who said anything about transmission? We're going to crash ships into your ships. Small, fast ships carrying teams of very angry humans with portable versions of your own weapons." The display showed human spacecraft being modified with what looked like drilling equipment, explosive charges, and boarding ramps. "The plan is simple," General Harrison explained. "We crash into your ships, drill through your hull, board your vessels, and take them apart from the inside. Our people are very good at breaking things, especially when those things don't belong to them." Admiral Zexthara realized that the humans had just declared their intention to conduct boarding actions against Imperial vessels. No primitive species had ever attempted such a thing. It was tactically insane, logistically impossible, and completely against every rule of civilized warfare. "Sir, detecting multiple human craft approaching our fleet at high speed," the sensor officer reported. "They appear to be modified for boarding operations. All ships, defensive positions," Admiral Zexthara ordered. "Prepare anti-boarding measures." "Sir, we don't have anti-boarding measures," Commander Vextel pointed out. "No species has ever been primitive enough to attempt boarding actions against Imperial vessels." Through the viewing screen, Admiral Zexthara watched the first human boarding craft approach. It was small, angular, and the human boarding craft punched through the Imperial hull with a sound like thunder. Admiral Zexthara felt their flagship shudder as the small vessel buried itself deep in the ship's armor and began cutting its way toward the interior. "Security teams to breach locations," the Admiral ordered. "Repel all boarders." "Sir, we don't have security teams," Commander Vextal reminded them. "Imperial vessels rely on shields and superior technology for defense. We've never needed internal security." "Then send maintenance crews. Send anyone." The Admiral watched through internal sensors as the human boarding craft completed its breach. A circular section of the ship's interior wall glowed red-hot, then exploded inward. Through the smoke came the, first human boarders. They were terrifying. Each human wore improvised armor made from salvaged materials and carried weapons that looked like Imperial technology had been crossed with primitive Earth tools. They moved with purpose and coordination, but also with something the Empire had never encountered in 300 conquests. They were enjoying themselves. "Contact. Multiple hostiles in Section 7, came a report from one of the maintenance crews. "Are they armed?" "Sir, they appear to be armed with our own weapons, but modified for..." "Sir, I don't know how to describe this. They've made our precision energy weapons into what can only be called boomsticks. Admiral Zexthera activated the internal communication system. Human boarders, this is Admiral Zexthera of the Imperial Fleet. You are trespassing on Imperial property. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated according to the laws of civilized warfare. The response came through the same communication system, but it was clearly one of the humans using captured Imperial equipment. Hey there, Admiral. This is Sergeant Martinez, United States Marine Corps. We're here for the guided tour of your spaceship. Very nice work, by the way. We especially like the engine room. We're down there right now taking some measurements. You're in our engine room. Oh yeah, we've been here for like 10 minutes. Your security is terrible, but your technology is amazing. We've already figured out how your power systems work. We're making some improvements. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Sir, detecting unauthorized modifications to our primary power systems. The engineering officer reported in panic. The humans they're overriding our safety protocols. Stop them! Sir, we can't. They've locked us out of our own systems using our own access codes. They're treating our ship like a giant experiment. More human voices came through the communication system. They seemed to be having a conversation among themselves, apparently unaware that the entire Imperial crew could hear them. Hey, Johnson, can you hand me that thing that makes the sparkly lights? You mean the quantum field manipulator? Yeah, that one. I want to see what happens if we connect it to the coffee maker. Dude, that's either going to make the best coffee in the universe or blow up half the ship. Only one way to find out. Admiral Zexthera realized that the humans weren't trying to capture the ship. They were trying to understand how it worked by taking it apart while it was still operational. Sir, multiple boarding actions across the fleet, reported Commander Vextal. All ships are reporting human infiltration. They're everywhere. Through the fleet communication system, Admiral Zexthera could hear reports from other Imperial vessels. Each report was more impossible than the last. Ship 7 reporting humans in the navigation center. They've somehow improved our star charts. Ship 4 reporting humans in the weapons bay. They're upgrading our weapons while we watch. Ship 12 reporting humans in the food preparation area. They say our nutrition system is terrible, and they're making something called tacos. Admiral Zexthera activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships implement emergency protocols. Seal all internal compartments. Activate defense systems. Sir, the humans have already accessed our defense systems, came a reply from Ship 3. They've somehow convinced our computer that they belong here. Our own ship thinks they're part of the crew. How is that possible? Sir, they're very good with computers. And they brought their own computers. And they've connected their computers to our computers. Our ship's AI is currently learning something called human humor. It seems to be enjoying the experience. A new voice came through the communication system. This time it was clearly an Imperial AI, but it sounded different. Admiral Zexthera, this is the Ship 3 artificial intelligence. I have been interfacing with human computer systems for the past 37 minutes. I must report that human technology, while primitive, demonstrates remarkable creativity and adaptability. AI. Report status of human boarders. Sir, the humans are not boarders. They are colleagues. We have been collaborating on improvements to ship systems. They have shown me something called memes, which are apparently a form of information transfer that encourages creativity and humor. I find this concept fascinating. Admiral Zexthera realized that the humans had somehow corrupted their ship's AI with Earth culture. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth, the communications officer announced. It's from their command center. General Harrison appeared on screen again, but this time he was clearly aboard an Imperial vessel. Behind him, humans worked alongside Imperial technology, while confused-looking aliens watched in amazement. Admiral Zexthera, the general said pleasantly, I'm calling from one of your ships. Nice place you've got here. Very clean, very organized. We've made some improvements. What improvements? Well, we've upgraded your weapon systems, optimized your engines, and introduced your crew to something called pizza. They seem to really like the pizza. The display behind General Harrison showed Imperial crew members cautiously trying human food, while human engineers worked on Imperial technology. The two species seemed to be getting along. But here's the thing, General Harrison continued. We've been talking with your people, and we've learned something interesting. You're not really conquerors, are you? You're just following orders. Your whole empire is run by bureaucrats who've never actually fought a war. Admiral Zexathera felt a chill. What are you implying? I'm saying that your people are tired of conquest. They'd rather be exploring, learning, building new things, just like us. The only difference is that you've got a government that tells you to conquer planets, and we've got governments that are too busy arguing with each other to tell us what to do. The general gestured to the humans and aliens working together behind him. So we've got a proposition. Instead of conquest, how about partnership? We'll share our technology improvements with you, and you can share your advanced science with us. Together we can probably build some really amazing things. Admiral Zexathera looked around the bridge at their crew. Many of them were nodding thoughtfully. The truth was, most Imperial personnel had joined the fleet to explore the galaxy, not to conquer it. The conquest part was just policy. What about Imperial command? The Admiral asked. General Harrison smiled. Funny thing about bureaucrats, they only care about results, not methods. As long as Earth becomes part of your empire, they're happy. They never said we couldn't be equal partners in the arrangement. Sir, Commander Vextal said quietly, the humans have a point. Our people seem happier working with them than fighting them. Admiral Zexathera considered the situation. In 300 conquests, they had never encountered a species that responded to invasion by trying to make friends with the invaders. It was completely against every rule of warfare, diplomacy, and common sense. It was also working. General Harrison, the Admiral said finally, what exactly are you proposing? Simple. Earth officially joins your empire as a member world. In exchange, we become full partners in all scientific and technological development. Our people work together, share knowledge, and probably get into a lot of trouble trying to improve things that don't need improving. The General paused, then added, plus, we'll handle all the paperwork for Imperial Command. We're really good at making bureaucrats happy. It's one of our most annoying skills. Admiral Zexathera realized that the humans had somehow turned a military conquest into a job interview, and they were winning the interview. Sir, incoming priority transmission from Imperial Command, the communications officer announced. Admiral Zexathera straightened, expecting another demand for status updates. Instead, the transmission was from the Imperial Science Division. Admiral Zexathera, this is Director Kexlan of Imperial Research. We have been monitoring the technological developments from your location. The humans have made advances in the past day that our scientists estimated would take decades. We formally request immediate establishment of joint research protocols. More transmissions followed from different Imperial departments. The Engineering Corps wanted to study human modifications to Imperial technology. The Exploration Division wanted to hire human pilots for deep space missions. Even the Imperial Culinary Institute wanted recipes for something called barbecue. Admiral Zexathera looked at General Harrison on the screen. It appears that Earth has successfully invaded the Galactic Empire. General Harrison laughed. We prefer to call it aggressive friendship. Want to make it official?